The dynamics with the Sith Master and Apprentice were always fought with difficulties by design, in order to force them to achieve ultimate power or suffer the death at hands of each other. The Master would constantly need to increase his own power because, well, if he didn't, his apprentice would see that as weakness and would kill him. The apprentice, on the other hand, would always have been striving to increase his own power because if he didn't, then his master could easily replace him with a stronger and far younger apprentice. That's exactly what happened with Count Dooku and Anakin with Darth Sidious in Episode 3. The Jedi didn't have this problem because they fostered the idea of mentorship. The Master never worried that his apprentice would try to kill him, so his journey for greater power was in an effort to impart that knowledge onto his apprentice. The apprentice likewise didn't have to worry about being replaced, and so the Jedi's quest for power was very selfless and not motivated by self-preservation. So, what does this have to do with Plagueis and Sidious? In the Legends book, Darth Plagueis, there is a time when Darth Sidious, who we know to be the greatest Sith Lord of all time, is actually worried that his master, Darth Plagueis, will replace Sidious with none other than Jedi Master Dooku. Dooku at the time was still a Jedi Master and was extremely well renowned for his swordsmanship. He didn't dress like the other Jedi either. In fact, he dressed like a nobleman, with flowing capes and pressed pants like we see in Episode 2. He also was a count by birth, and even though he had given up that title long ago, he was still a fine diplomat, and for Plagueis, it was still a tempting part of Dooku's persona that he could potentially regain the count title at any time. Most importantly though, his power in the Force was unmistakable. Even Plagueis was a little worried that Dooku would be able to see through him when they met. And that's something that nobody else could do because the Sith had become so adept over the centuries at hiding their Force abilities for the Jedi. Palpatine, of course, is the master at this, since when he was Supreme Chancellor, he could hide his Sith identity from the entire Jedi Council. But back to Darth Plagueis and Dooku. Plagueis was generally very happy with Palpatine as his apprentice, but after Sidious had nearly failed to assassinate a senator and almost exposed the Sith, Plagueis became newly interested in Dooku. During a meeting that both Plagueis and Dooku attended on Sereno, we get inside the Sith's head about all of this. The book reads, Plagueis felt certain that Sidious would evolve into a commanding Sith, but just now the young Naboo was drunk with power and prone to making mistakes. When the Dark recognized one as a true ally, a novice could lose his or her way. Bane, adoring Sith masters like Plagueis' master, Darth Tenebris, might have used the meeting with Dooku as a means of threatening their apprentices with replacement. Plagueis, however, had no such intention, which was why he hadn't mentioned to Sidious that Jedi would be attending the meeting. Even so, he found himself wondering whether a dissatisfied Jedi like Dooku could be insurance against a reversal of fortune, some unexpected event that would rob him of Sidious, or perhaps turn to the Dark without formal enlistment and manipulate it into instigating a schism in the Order. As he had told Sidious, even a trained Jedi could succumb to the lure of the dark side on his or her own. This meeting leads to some big developments in the grand plan of the Sith, which I'm going to cover in another video, but Dooku and Plagueis don't stop here. Later, Palpatine is on Coruscant talking with Jedi Master Dooku and other Jedi, when his master, under the guise of Higo Damask, comes up walking to them and greets Master Dooku like an old friend. Palpatine is pretty surprised by this because he didn't know that they knew each other, nor that they had ever sat in a meeting with each other or discussed anything at length. Why would his master keep such a secret from him? A meeting with Jedi seems like something a Sith master would share with his apprentice, right? Palpatine began to worry that his master was planning to replace him with clearly the more powerful Jedi Master Dooku, who even Sidious recognized as extremely adept in the Force. Sidious remembers that his master had told him that Sith Lords were not always raised as Sith, but that sometimes they were fallen Jedi. Could Dooku be persuaded to turn to the dark side after walking in the light for so long? It certainly seemed possible, and to Sidious it seemed like Plagueis could be thinking about doing that with Dooku. Now let's think about what we talked about at the beginning of this video, that the dynamics between a Sith master and apprentice were always fraught with tension over who's the most powerful of the two. Sidious knew that he would eventually have to take over his master. After all, it was the way of the Sith, a master to embody the power and an apprentice to crave it until the time when the master was no longer more powerful. So over the years, Sidious himself would also foment a relationship with Jedi Master Dooku, in an effort to ensure Dooku's allegiance to him instead of Darth Plagueis. Sidious would also put into motion his grand plan to destroy his master, become Supreme Chancellor himself, and become the great master of the Sith and rule the galaxy as the master rather than the apprentice. As soon as distrust entered into the relationship between Sidious and Plagueis, things begin to unravel. And honestly, Sidious always planned to kill Plagueis from the beginning. That, and Plagueis had become so obsessed with unlocking the mysteries of midichlorians and propelling his apprentice to be Supreme Chancellor, that Plagueis never stood a chance against Darth Sidious. And so when Sidious finally decided to kill him, there was no escaping his destiny to die. So, what do you guys think? How do you think the events of the galaxy would have changed if Dooku were to have replaced Sidious as Darth Plagueis' apprentice? It actually may have been pretty similar to what we currently have. Dooku was a statesman just like Palpatine and could have become the Supreme Chancellor himself, especially with his Jedi roots. But it begs the question of who then would have become the leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Or even if the war would have been necessary, if Dooku would have become the Supreme Chancellor, could he have somehow sown discord with the Jedi Order? Could he have dissolved them? Could he have turned the galaxy against the Jedi with undisclosed secrets of the Jedi that didn't want the galaxy to know about? Undoubtedly, if Sidious was replaced by Dooku, the fate of the galaxy would have been quite different. At the very least, we would have gotten a pretty awesome fight between Sidious, Plagueis, and Dooku, and that's something that I really would have loved to have seen. Maybe for a fan film someday, who knows? What do you guys think? I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to do more Legends stuff like this, so leave a like if you did enjoy it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, remember, the Force will be with you, always.